Hi, my name is Christine Passmore, and I completed this assignment on our qualitative research genre on autoethnography, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you what I learned. I had not heard of autoethnography before, so I had a lot of fun researching this. And two of the sources that I used had really similar definitions. The first one is autoethnography involves a researcher writing about a topic of great personal relevance, for example, family secrets, situating their experiences within the social context. Autoethnography thus requires deep reflection on both one's unique experiences and the universal within oneself. The second text says autoethnography is an approach to research and writing that seeks to describe and systematically analyze personal experience in order to understand cultural experience. So you can see from both of these articles that the most important components of autoethnography are the great personal relevance being fit into their experiences within the social context or the cultural experience. So it's where the researcher integrates themselves into their own research project. They are both the researcher and the participant in their own projects. So, as we ask ourselves the question, how do we know that it's this genre? The answer to that would be when the researcher is involved and when it becomes a first person research study, first person data, first person results. It can also be mixed with other participants, but that inclusion of the researcher and making it personal would tell you that this was a study using the autoethnography genre. Some interesting facts about this genre is that it actually started in the 1980s. It came out of a reformation among sociologists of the objectives of social sciences. Prior to that, most research, most studies, they wanted it to be sterile. They wanted to not have bias, but this really was a movement where that sterile and cold research environment was really resisted. There was sort of this phenomena that they were observing, saying, okay, outsiders enter a culture, they study it. In many cases, they exploit it. I thought that was really interesting, and then leave. It's void of relationship, and sociologists really wanted to move away from that, and so they moved into this new genre of research, saying, "Hey, why can't this be personal? It should be story versus theory and be value oriented, value theoried, and allowing those personal experiences to come into and actually have a reputable place within research and within these different genres." Um, Researchers recognized that it's hard to be neutral and objective. We talked a lot about that there is bias, and this actually allows for there to be bias. There allows for there to be subjectivity. So it's kind of a unique and neat research genre because it makes room for those things to happen. I really appreciated one of the authors said that um, uh, autoethnography research is like capturing of an epiphany, and an epiphany is a moment that changed the trajectory of someone's life. I thought that was really special that someone could base their research project off of a moment that changed the trajectory of their life, and they could study that and write about that and make that the basis for their research study. When you're looking at the different types of data you would collect with this research genre, personal narratives, first person accounts, lived experience, confessional tales, interviews, those are all really important. A lot of these researchers will consult with journals, photos, and recordings. We'll talk about that in a while. One of the challenges is that you need to be able to corroborate those stories and those perspectives. Also, autoethnographies might bring in focus groups and also have artifact analysis. When analyzing autoethnographic data, there seems to be this kind of these two decisions you could make. You could either organize chronologically or by theme. In either case, not only do researchers analyze the actual words, but also the feelings behind the words. When there's lots of themes that they're looking for, there would be lots of coding, thematic analysis, and then the analysis is usually situated within the context of already established relationships. This seemed very unique in the sense that a lot of other research genres were researching different data points because we're trying to find the relationship between these different elements, whereas in autoethnographic research, those relationships are established. And so that analysis is already embedded within those pre-established relationships. In researching the two articles that were peer reviewed and published, the first I learned about was this one. It's called Centering the Self in Participatory Research, an autoethnography led mixed method approach to research for those conducting collaborative research with hard to reach groups. This article was really interesting because the researcher is a mental health expert in Ireland, and the study was about, it was a joint effort. The author was one of the participants and also learned information from other mental health experts in Ireland. And this study ended up being really powerful because of the mixed method approach. The author's vulnerability in conducting the study really highlighted the importance of safeguarding the researchers. And then the author's subjectivity also broke down insider-outsider dynamics that can be really prevalent when the researcher is an outsider. This second article was called Autoethnography as a Research Method for Educational Technology, a Reflective Discourse. This article was interesting. It's peer-reviewed. It was published. It wasn't actually a study where data was collected. The authors were actually advocating that someone complete a research study on educational technology using an autoethnographic approach. And their rationale had everything to do with technology, and especially artificial intelligence has been really highly researched in recent years, but there hasn't been a whole lot of conclusions or even success to these research studies where they've been able to implement more changes. So the whole basis of this paper was saying that an autoethnographic approach would potentially yield some new results and some new conclusions that people could actually implement from these studies on the topic of educational technology and particularly artificial intelligence. As with all genres, there are some benefits and challenges. The benefits being this genre helps readers connect with the validity and authenticity of a phenomena, which would be someone's story or experiences. It opens up the world and makes it accessible to others, and researchers can transmit their passion for a topic. Two of the biggest challenges I learned is that memory is fallible. So as often as possible, researchers need to corroborate stories with other people's stories and perspectives, or potentially with artifacts, written documents, things like that. And the second is that it has been criticized for being narcissistic and self-centered because the researcher is focusing on themselves. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation. I hope you enjoyed learning about autoethnography. And here are the references and resources that I used as I completed this project. Thank you.